Creative presentation is the first class I have taken at Full Sail. It was an amazing experience, and one that I'll never forget. It was a great start on my journey through the film program. I learned so much, from the history of presentations to how to give and receive presentation feedback. My first day of class was really nerve-wracking. The class began with my cheerful instructor introducing himself and telling us about what we had to look forward to throughout the month. After the first lecture, I was pretty excited to see what this class had in store for me. By the second lecture, I was still nervous, but more calm. The material that was taught this day was how to tell a proper story. I have never heard about the hero's journey before this day. Being someone who wasn't that great at storytelling, watching a video that vividly describes the most effective way to tell a story was very helpful. By the end of this lecture, I felt a little bit more confident in my skills to be able to tell a good, entertaining story. The third lecture was all about the audience and how to get the audience to connect with you. Just after this first week of class, I could already tell that I would love it here at Full Sail. I'll never forget that. When it comes to presenting, the audience is considered the hero. That was very shocking to me because I've always been presenting in the perspective that I am the hero in a way. I never really considered my audience, which, now I know, that's wrong. Starting week 2, I was pretty excited to learn more. By this time, I was used to the way class worked, and it became just another routine in my life. But that's not exactly how it works. Every lecture is different in some way, and no, I'm not just talking about the content. The first lecture of week 2, lecture 4, was all about what a successful presentation consisted of. For example, the star moment. We analyzed presenters and tried to figure out where the star moment was located in their presentation and what it was. It was pretty entertaining and interesting for me to find out that every presentation needs a star moment and that there are actually different kinds of star moments, 5 to be exact. I realized that for future presentations, this is a good thing to know, considering a star moment makes a story or presentation memorable. Lecture 5 was very helpful for me. I don't really enjoy talking about myself or really understand how to, honestly. But after this lecture, I was able to think of plenty of successful ways to brand myself. Understanding how to brand myself has proven helpful already with my final presentation for this class. And then came Hurricane Matthew, which postponed our next lecture and ended the second week. Week 3 began with lecture 6 and how to make an impact. Now this impacted me. I now knew what was missing from all of my past presentations. I also never realized that ethos, pathos, and logos were essential in presentations. Now, lecture 7 was pretty informative. It was all about visuals and the difference between useful and unuseful visuals. I used to think that visuals were all of the crazy animations I would use during my presentation, but boy, was I wrong. I'm actually glad that I was taught this information now because I realized just how awful a presentation actually looks with random things going on the screen. Lecture 8 was a great end to the third week. As we were making the last few adjustments on our final presentations, it was good to know about feedback for our personal uses, but also because considering we had to give our classmates feedback on their presentations the next day, it was really helpful. I like that not only did we learn how to give feedback, but also how to receive it. That was extremely helpful, as sometimes people take things personally. Constructive criticism is a skill that I will always use and take seriously throughout my educational and professional life. I also like how in this lecture I found out what not to do in and during a presentation. Like having a negative first impression will damage my presentation as a whole. I can relate so well with this. I believe that first impressions are very important in life. The instructor gave us a lot of useful vocal exercises that can help with speaking in front of an audience or just in general. This will definitely prove to be helpful in the future. It has already been helpful as I already used the skill and to help out in my final presentation. Now it's come down to week 4, the final week in creative presentation. There wasn't much more to learn as my instructor has basically covered everything we need to know. Lecture 9 was basically spent reviewing before our final presentations were due that night. Next 2 lectures, numbers 10 and 11, were well spent. Watching my classmates' presentations and giving them feedback in class was really a great experience. Listening to their presentations as well as the feedback they were given didn't only help them grow, it helped the whole class understand that no matter how great the presentation, there's always room for improvements. I know I didn't just sit there and watch their presentations for fun or because I was forced to. I used that as a learning experience, and now because of that, I have so many great ideas, skills, and techniques that I can't wait to try out in future presentations. I'm not much of an outgoing person, and I don't feel comfortable talking in front of a big audience. But after taking this class, I feel like I am more prepared for any future presentations than I have ever been before. I feel like now that this class is over, my knowledge and skills have advanced to the point where I can feel comfortable enough in front of an audience to tell a great story and give phenomenal presentations, one that they'll never forget. I think that if I ever had to take this class again, or if I could go back and change something from my experience in this class, I would have concentrated a bit more on the reading materials. I didn't spend as much time as I think I should have going through the readings. I am glad that the skills that I learned from creative presentation are actually useful. I honestly thought that this class wasn't going to be very convenient for me. Every single piece of information I have learned will be helpful to me in the film industry, from job searching and more. I am glad that I was wrong and I had a great experience in this class. I think most of that was because I had such a great teacher. I'll never forget that inspirational speech you gave at our class in our last moments together. Thank you, Mr. Geimer, for a great month and a fantastic first college experience. As a very wise Jedi once said, do or do not, there is no try.